Well, I am going to talk to you about a little bit different of, let me make sure I can get this started. There we go. A little bit different topic, which is social media. And I think, though, that what you'll find is that it dovetails really well with the things that we've been hearing, even with our opening remarks from Mark, about transparency, about looking for ways to engage with our constituents in, using technology. Now, social media may not be technology that our industry invented or that we invented, but it is, I think, a powerful tool for us to, as we go forth and really try and begin to advance our industry and dispel some of these myths. And interestingly enough, we have about 12,000 employees now. So we've been busy since I submitted my bio. But our operating areas are probably not unlike most of yours. And what I really want you to see is these are the yellow areas, and they are geographically dispersed, and each have their own sets of issues, and yet there are many common issues between these geographical areas. I will say before I go forward that Blake Jackson, who is our social media coordinator, is online. So if any of you are big into this space and feel the need to ask a technical question about Blake, you can reach him, probably easiest through Twitter, but at eBlakeJackson, and then just regularly email him at blake.jackson@chk.com. And as I say, he's online all the time, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. So this is how it used to be, the way the conversation worked with what we call the mainstream media. And, for decades, we have been essentially subject to the editorial filter of the mainstream media when it comes to telling the oil and gas story. And sometimes that is a good thing, and sometimes it's not such a good thing. But in any event, we couldn't really do much about that, because maybe we had to take an ad out in the very newspaper that might have had a story that we wanted to have a rebuttal to or an answer to. So we were really struggling, I think, for quite a while in the way the mainstream media works. And couple that with the historical public perception of our industry. And, when the public asked questions, they believed we kind of went into this command control, code of silence thing. And so throughout the decades, we earned that coined phrase, big oil. And nobody trusted us. And so I think that reputation, right or wrong, needs to be challenged. And the great news is we have some tools to be able to challenge that today. And what we believe is to dispel that myth. We don't want to be pigeonholed any longer and characterized as big oil, but rather we want to be small and really think about answering questions and concerns on an individual level, and answer those questions and address those issues accurately and respect the people that are asking them. And what's really great about social media is it gives us the opportunity to meet the constituents of the communities in which we operate where they live, which is a lot of the time online. So now we have a new state of the conversation. We've got, the big four that you can see over on the left, the top four. What is unbelievable to me is that just with Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, there are over 1 billion active users. Billion. And I think is even more fascinating that they estimate between 400 and 500 million of those people are daily users. 500 million people get online in one of those venues every single day. Now, that might not be me, but that is a lot of people, and that is powerful. I think it's interesting that Blake and I decided to put the Gasland movie kind of poster, if you will. Film, of course, is mainstream media, but a lot of the way that the conversation occurred, the distribution of that film, obviously was through the social world. So it spanned both the old mainstream media and the new social media. So when we went about building our program, we took kind of a tiered approach. So we have various presences that we have at the company, which would allow individuals really to go as deep into the company as they would like. So if you have a question about, just what you hear in the national news or a big oil and gas story, and you just, really kind of want a more global perspective, you can catch us on facebook.com/Chesapeake or twitter.com/Chesapeake, kind of our corporate presence. But then if you are in Shreveport, Louisiana, and you have a question about operations in Shreveport, specific to your area of location, you're not interested necessarily in that global national message, you can find us in 16 different region or shale-specific accounts that we have, which would be twitter.com/CHK Haynesville, for instance. And then if you have a specific question, say you are Susie and you can't get your resume uploaded to apply for a job that you have seen online, you can actually interact on a personal level, one-on-one, with accounts at Chesapeake. So if you're Susie with that problem, you may contact at facebook.com/CHK Laney, who handles the social media related to our careers and job opportunities. And so you can actually have a dialogue with Laney and find out with her and walk through why your resume wouldn't necessarily get uploaded. So all told, we have 25 different presences and 8 on our social media team spread throughout the country who we have obviously boots on the ground in the regions, and we also have a corporate presence where we have 3 people in corporate headquarters. But if you want to look at it from the consumer side, maybe, you still have that national, the personal, the regional presences, but what it is all about, the central thing, every interaction that we have through social media is an opportunity to enhance our brand. And I believe that the number of connections that we make with individuals is directly correlated to their interest or aversion or apathy towards our company the next time they see our brand or a Chesapeake representative. And we believe that connections equal success when it comes to an improvement, when it comes to brand recognition. So when you're thinking about a social media program, it can do a lot of things for you. And we talked about the big, nameless, faceless oil and gas industry. It's a way to really make it personal, to engage one-on-one, to make the management seem like real people, not just, corporate suits. It's a way to converse with your customers. It's a way to mobilize audiences and influencers and to gather operational intelligence. And when I say gather intelligence, it makes it sound kind of secret, but you might find that there's quite a chat going on with surface owners around a particular area, and they're complaining about the roads. Well, we can take that information, this is operational intelligence about our own operations, and then go send the word out and get people out there to get the roads fixed and improved. So that's the kind of intelligence I'm talking about. And what I will tell you that Blake and I discuss all the time is if you have, so often we are in this mindset that we have something we want to push out. We want to tell our story. And so, gosh, let's set up a Facebook account and get this out. And that just doesn't work. The way social media works is you have to be engaged every single day. You can't just decide all of a sudden you need it and go do a campaign. You have to have established that interaction, that credibility, or the folks that are busy in this space and they will see through that attempt that you have to just suddenly go out and want to, post a big message to a Facebook wall you've just set up. So, be thinking about it. If you're going to do it, you need to really do it right. So, of course, there was this article in the New York Times. And we chose, in our shop, our CEO wrote a response to that article. What was cool about that is, and we wanted to share it. We wanted everybody to share it. And I know in our dinner table last night we talked about a little bit, and several people said, oh, yeah, I've got that. I've got a copy of that response. Well, we didn't post that to our Chesapeake website. We posted it to our Facebook wall. And that meant that it was easily shareable. And so tens of thousands of people could then begin to spread that rebuttal, if you will, to that article. And then we also bought what are called promoted tweets, so that what Blake told me was for 3 days we owned the New York Times space. So that meant that if you were on Twitter and you hashtag natural gas or looked for a search on New York Times, the first tweet that you would see would be a link to Chesapeake CEO's response to New York Times article. And, what were our other options to engage in the conversation? Take out an ad in the New York Times? That didn't seem the right way to handle it. And, on a standalone basis, we're never going to be able to get the reach of the New York Times. But it begins a conversation, and at least you have a seat at the table with thousands of people who are interested. And sometimes the conversation is pro and con. Don't get me wrong, it's not always, in favor of our message. And then the other case study, I will quickly mention that we've used some mainstream media. We've done some advertisements in the big papers. But primarily, we're doing an outreach called our Declaration of Energy Independence, and a lot of that is happening through social media. And this is a way where we are building advocates. It's not a petition in the normal sense of the word, but it is finding people who are not just willing to say, oh, that's a good idea, but to actually put their name on something, and, of course, their email address, which gives us a way to communicate that with them in the future. So those kinds of platforms are really lend themselves well to social media. We use it internally as well. This is a small microsite of a social network that we set up for our employees who work in our garden. We have a community garden, and so this is a way for them to communicate. So it is not just about the external social media, it's also very usable inside your company. But, your culture is important, and you need to think about kind of what's in your DNA when you think about doing a program, a social media program. And, we spent a lot of time thinking about, gosh, what are we going to do when we unleash our employees on social media? Well, the fact of the matter is they're doing it anyway. They are your best advocates. Public advocates come and go, but employees and their families are on your team 24/7. So to leverage them, to just have them, tell a fun story about what they did at work, not specifically, but, a fun activity, went to lunch with a group of friends and, really got to have some good conversation, those kinds of things really go a long way to empower your employees to actually start talking. And then, of course, LinkedIn, probably there isn't anyone in here who hasn't hired an employee as a result of a LinkedIn reference. So that's just another way that social media is used inside the company. So with that, I will just say thank you for your time. Of course, you can find us online. Blake's going to be around all day, as he is every day. So if you want to, take an opportunity to tweet and hook up with Blake, and he can tell you anything you want to know. He lives it, eats it, breathes it, and we really are thankful to him. He's been with us 2 years now and has really built a great team. So with that, I thank you very much.